The environmental impact of ultra-processed foods is a critical, yet often overlooked dimension of their overall harm, extending the consequences of their consumption far beyond individual health to the broader planet. The entire life cycle of these foods, from industrial-scale production to packaging, transportation, and disposal, exerts tremendous pressure on natural resources, ecosystems, and climate stability. This environmental degradation underscores how ultra-processed foods are not only a public health crisis, but also a significant driver of global ecological damage, threatening the sustainability of food systems and the well-being of future generations. One of the most striking aspects of ultra-processed foods is their reliance on highly industrialized and resource-intensive production methods. The ingredients typically come from large-scale monoculture farming, which often involves heavy use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and irrigation. These practices contribute to soil degradation, water pollution, and loss of biodiversity. For example, the cultivation of commodity crops such as corn, soy, and wheat, the primary raw materials for many processed products, has been linked to deforestation, habitat destruction, and declining soil fertility in regions around the world. Beyond the farming stage, the manufacturing processes for ultra-processed foods consume vast amounts of energy. Complex refining, chemical processing, and artificial ingredient synthesis require industrial facilities that rely heavily on fossil fuels. This energy consumption translates directly into carbon dioxide emissions, contributing to the climate crisis. Moreover, ultra-processed foods often contain additives and synthetic substances that demand additional chemical manufacturing steps, further increasing environmental pollution and greenhouse gas output. Packaging represents another major environmental burden tied to ultra-processed foods. These products are typically wrapped in multiple layers of plastic, aluminum, and composite materials designed to prolong shelf life and enhance convenience. The result is a staggering volume of non-biodegradable waste. Plastic packaging, in particular, accumulates in landfills and natural environments, including oceans, where it breaks down into microplastics that infiltrate water supplies and food chains. This pollution harms wildlife and disrupts ecosystems, with consequences that ripple through food webs and ultimately impact human health. Transportation of ultra-processed foods also contributes significantly to environmental degradation. Because these products are often manufactured far from where they are consumed, they require extensive distribution networks involving trucks, ships, and airplanes, all of which rely heavily on fossil fuels. The global scale of these supply chains leads to high carbon emissions per calorie delivered compared to local, minimally processed foods. The sheer volume and weight of packaging add to transport inefficiencies, magnifying the carbon footprint. Waste generated by ultra-processed foods extends beyond packaging to include food waste. Many processed foods have short shelf lives or are designed to be consumed quickly, which encourages overpurchasing and contributes to high levels of food waste at the consumer level. Food waste decomposes to produce methane, a potent greenhouse gas that exacerbates global warming. The environmental costs of ultra-processed food production are intricately linked to their health impacts. For instance, the widespread cultivation of monocultures for processed food ingredients not only harms the environment, but also contributes to reduced dietary diversity and nutrient-poor food options, fueling chronic disease. This creates a vicious cycle where environmental degradation and poor human health reinforce each other. Addressing the environmental consequences of ultra-processed foods requires systemic change across multiple sectors. Reducing reliance on industrial monoculture farming, promoting sustainable agricultural practices, and shifting towards minimally processed, locally sourced foods can dramatically lower energy use, emissions, and waste. Improved packaging technologies that prioritize biodegradability and recyclability are urgently needed to combat plastic pollution. Additionally, policies aimed at shortening supply chains and encouraging regional food systems could reduce transportation-related emissions. Consumer behavior also plays a vital role. Increased awareness about the environmental footprint of food choices can motivate shifts away from ultra-processed products towards whole foods that demand fewer resources to produce and package. Educational campaigns and incentives for sustainable eating habits are essential components of this transformation. In conclusion, ultra-processed foods exert a heavy toll on the environment through energy-intensive production, excessive plastic packaging, long-distance transportation, and food waste generation. These practices contribute to climate change, pollution, biodiversity loss, and resource depletion, threatening planetary health alongside human well-being. Recognizing and addressing the environmental footprint of ultra-processed foods is critical to building sustainable food systems and safeguarding the future of both the planet and its inhabitants. Without urgent collective action, the ecological damage linked to these foods will continue to accelerate, undermining efforts to combat climate change and preserve natural ecosystems.